Good evening. My name is Janice Mathis, and welcome to the latest edition of Millennial Entrepreneurs. We're so delighted that you could take time away from your schedule tonight to join us for an hour of information that is sure to be stimulating and fun. We've got a wonderful presenter who's here to join us, and we'll hear from her in just a few moments. But before we get started, I'd like to ask Mr. Johannes to give us a few tips and pointers on the use of the webinar platform to make sure you're able to enjoy the experience along with us. While we're waiting for Mr. Johannes to join us, you may know if you've been to one of these webinars, which we host twice a month at least, sometimes. Last month we had a webinar every Thursday night, and that's okay because in this unusual time, there is a lot to discuss. Tonight's topic is has an intriguing title. I won't spoil or steal her thunder and take it away from our speaker, but it's going to be delightful. I also want to remind you that the National Council of Negro Women will hold its 59th National Convention in the 85th year of our founding, September 24th through the 27th, and it will be held nowhere. It'll be held on the internet. It'll be held virtually, and that is the first time we're doing that. So those of you who know words of prayer, pray for us. Registration is open. Registration is only $100, and just think about how much money you will save by not having to travel, get on an airplane, go to a hotel room. You can stay in the comfort of your own home and enjoy much of the same programming. We've just secured the talent of Mr. Eric Benet to be our singer, our entertainment for the virtual gala. Mr. Johannes, if you're ready, you could give us a few tips about using the GoToWebinar platform.
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Good evening, everyone. If you're on a computer, if you're on a Mac, your menu is on the right. If you're on a PC, your menu is on the left. There are places where you can hit a button and raise your hand directly in the bottom of the menu, and we will try to get to your question. But it'd be easier if you were to type it into the questions section. That way we can make sure that it is clean and succinct and get information back from our presenter. Also, during this evening, there'll be poll questions, so we'll be popping up and give you about 30 seconds to answer those questions as we go on. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johannes. We appreciate everything you do for us behind the scenes to make sure that these webinars work, and that's so very important. Our speaker tonight is so emblematic of what I think about when I think about millennial entrepreneurs. She is a fully mature woman with a husband and children that she says are the cornerstone of her happiness, but she's got a youthful vibe and a beautiful smile, and it's been fun getting to know her just a little bit as we waited for the program to start. She is Vanessa Foster Cooksey. She is the Director of Strategic Communications and Student Engagement at Washington University in St. Louis, where she is responsible for developing and managing unified communications for the entire university system. In this role, she also leads the development of new communication platforms, maybe like, I don't know, Twitter and Zoom and that sort of thing, and programs that engage prospective students in continuing their education. And that is so important because still among our African American youngsters, there are many who are first generation college students, and they need that little bit of extra help. It tells you a lot about Vanessa Foster Cooksey's personality and what motivates her, that she enjoys working with prospective students. She's a creative communicator, a systems thinker, and future-focused strategist. Vanessa's worked for various government, nonprofit, and for-profit organizations, including Mary Kay Cosmetics, which may explain why she looks so good on camera tonight. She's worked at the Cartoon Network, the City of Atlanta Mayor's Office, Save-A-Lot Food Stores, Anheuser-Busch, and Wells Fargo. She believes that 3 decades of continuous community service is the foundation of her personal and professional success, and she certainly has enjoyed a lot of personal and professional success. She currently serves on the board of directors for several nonprofit organizations, including SIFMA Foundation for Investor Education, Harris Stowe State University, Digital Undivided, Vote Run Lead, and the Deaconess Foundation. She earned a bachelor's degree in radio, TV, and film from the University of Texas at Austin, and a master's degree in business administration from Webster University. She comes to us thoroughly prepared. But I think my favorite thing about Miss Vanessa Foster Cooksey is where she spends her free time. She's vacationed or studied or worked in France, the Caribbean, Mexico, China, Ireland, Cuba, Japan, Rwanda, and England. I'd like to hear what's on her bucket list. She also enjoys growing food on her tower gardens for her friends and family to enjoy. Although she has received more than 50 national and local honors for her innovative business and community work, including the prestigious 2016 Eisenhower Fellowship and 2018 St. Louis American Corporate Executive of the Year. But she's a humble woman and understands what really keeps her grounded, and says that her greatest rewards come from being a wife to Antonio, mother to Andrew, and daughter to Beverly. Please join me in welcoming tonight's guest, Vanessa Foster Cooksey.
Thank you so much, Ms. Mathis. I am honored and grateful to be with you all this evening and to be able to share with our Millennial members. I am a proud life member of NCNW. I've been involved in Atlanta as well as here in St. Louis, and it brings me great honor to be able to share on the national level this evening about a topic that I feel very passionate about.
Well, we're delighted to have you.
All right. So, Ms. Mathis mentioned that I have a very unique title to my presentation, and it is 3 Ds for your PPP. And many of us recognize PPP as the Paycheck Protection Program that was instituted by our government at the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic. But for this particular conversation, PPP stands for Post-Pandemic Playbook. And we're going to talk about what that means today, why it's important to have one, and what you should include in it. Our agenda for today is I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. A lot of it was covered in my bio, so I'll share it at a very high level. We're going to be interactive today, so I hope you have a pen and paper. We are going to be writing things, drawing, and really developing our playbook, and I will leave ample time for your questions. We will also have some polls because I'm very interested in what you're thinking about and what your life's experiences are. So please know that this is not just a lecture, it's an interactive workshop. So after I share a little bit about myself, we'll talk about what does victory look like in our lives. I actually gave this speech at my church, Central Baptist Church in St. Louis, for Women's Day back in May, and got a lot of really good feedback and have since developed it into a workshop, and I'm pleased to share it with you today. The first play in your playbook, we're going to talk about the importance of being debt-free. The second play in the playbook is being disease-free. And the third play for our playbook that we're going to talk about tonight is being drama-free. And of course, like I said, we'll have Q&A. And as most successful teams have great playbooks, we are a team for this workshop and this time this evening. So at the end, we're going to do a little virtual huddle together. So I'm excited to spend this time with you and to interact and learn and grow together. So 6 fun facts that you should know about me that weren't necessarily covered in the biographical information shared at the beginning. Number 1, my father passed away from pancreatic cancer in January of 1997, and I was very close to my dad. I was a daddy's girl and really had a very close relationship. My dad was my best friend, and I was getting ready to turn 20 years old when he passed. And from that very devastating experience, I learned not to take life for granted. I am very close to my mom. I call us a 2-for-1 special. So wherever I go, she goes, and she is an integral part of my life. A lot of who I am today, I can credit to how she raised me. I am married. I got married 8 years ago in 2012. I do have one son who is 8, getting ready to turn 9. And there are 5 boys in our family that range from age 26 to almost 9. And I have 4 bonus sons and 3 grandchildren that live in Texas and Louisiana. I've moved around a lot. I enjoy exploring different communities. I've lived on the East Coast. I've lived in the Midwest. I haven't lived on the West Coast yet, but certainly do enjoy exploring and being part of different communities. I've lived in St. Louis for the last 12 years and have even ventured into different neighborhoods. Moving for me is a joyous experience. It is stressful, but it does allow me opportunities to create community and meet new people. Number 3 thing you should know, talk a little bit about places where I have worked. My gifts and talents tend to be in communications, marketing, and philanthropy. I'm very thankful that I've worked for nonprofit, for-profit, and government organizations. And the perspective that I bring to my work is definitely influenced by the different industries that I've worked as well. So you'll see and hear a lot more of that as we get into creating our playbooks. Number 4, this is what I call my head and heart connection. Strength Finders is a talent assessment that helps you understand what you're good at. And I learned of this tool when I was working at Wells Fargo, and it's used for talent development. And so my Strength Finders top 5 are futuristic, woo, achiever, ideation, and learner. And I've done a lot of work to really understand what my gifts are and how I use them in different environments, both professionally and personally. And I tend to lead from my core values, which are creativity and well-being. I'll share one more thing from this slide. My birthday is April the 25th. My number 1 love language is acts of service, and flowers and plants are my favorite gift to receive and to give. So we'll talk a little bit more about how knowing yourself, knowing your skills and strengths really makes a difference when you're making plans and working towards achieving your goals. The 5th thing that you should know about me is I believe very deeply in community service and civic engagement. I currently serve on 7 nonprofit boards. Sometimes I feel like that's 7 too many, but because I love governance work, I tend to find myself serving in that capacity. I did start serving on nonprofit boards actually in high school because serving in the community and being part of the decision-making process is very important. And we'll talk a little bit more about that and why it is also a great way to develop leadership skills that help in both your personal and professional life. And then last but not least, I am a lifelong learner. I am a student in my heart. I love to study. I invest in continuing education, both formally and informally. And one of the things that I've really been intentional about over the last several years is traveling internationally to get to know and understand different cultures and people. So hopefully this frames a little bit about myself and what we'll be talking about today. And please feel free to put questions in the chat, and I'm happy to answer them as well. So when we talk about victory, what does victory look like for our lives? In this pandemic time that we're dealing with COVID-19, a recession, and even protest of social injustice, our day-to-day routines have been completely disrupted. Many of us are working from home, managing our children, our families, Some of us are still going into the office every day, trying to keep ourselves healthy. But I often, as an optimist, a person who believes very deeply with a deep faith, that there is often opportunity in crisis. And we have the opportunity to rethink some things and reevaluate our priorities and establish a new normal as we are establishing our new normal. So I want to do our first poll. I really am very thoughtful about who's in the audience, and I like to have conversations that are relevant and resonant. So the first poll question, I want to know where you are. When you think about your overall life circumstances, would you say they are better today than they were in March of 2020? About the same today as it was pre-pandemic, pre-COVID, or worse today than in March of 2020. So we'll give you a quick minute to take the poll. All right, let's see. Oh, good, excellent. So for those of us on this team, we're Team NCNW for this workshop. We're about half and half. Some of us are doing better today than we were pre-COVID. Some of us about the same, but it is good news that none of us are in a position where we're feeling like we are in a worse case than in March of 2020. So that is, I'm glad to hear that and glad to see that for our community, right? So what's in it for you? Why take the time to develop a post-pandemic playbook? Well, number one, playbooks preparedness limits suffering. If you are upright and breathing, storms are inevitable. While this particular pandemic is not like one we've seen in our lifetime, it's not the first in our national history or global history, and it likely won't be the last. For our financial challenges with the current recession that we're in, we have seen similar recessions in the past. This won't be the last one. Same thing with protests. You know, I live in St. Louis, Missouri. I was here when Michael Brown was killed, and have seen, you know, routine protests and police violence. And so when you have a playbook that guides your life, one of the number one benefits is that preparedness limits suffering. And when you have a plan, it helps you to control the things that you can and navigate the things that you can't. Similar to natural disasters. If you have an evacuation plan for hurricanes, tornadoes, again, preparedness limits suffering. The number two benefit of taking the time to develop your post-pandemic playbook, because we are going to get on the other side of this, is that it positions us to win. Just like winning sports teams have amazing playbooks that help them win championships, I believe if we commit to the 3Ds, debt-free, disease-free, and drama-free, it will help us win in this game of life. Go back. All right, so please know that all of the information that I'm sharing today is grounded in my personal experience and is a recommendation for you as you are developing your own personal post-pandemic playbook. And what I want you to center in this conversation is, what do you want for you? So let us jump right in. As you are creating your playbook, there are primarily three things that we want to think about. Determine your strategy. What is the strategy for your overall win in your life? Then we're going to develop a plan. What's your plan to make that strategy real? And then ultimately we want to take action. So as we get into the 3Ds, I will organize the recommendations either according to a strategy, a plan, or taking action. So what are the 3Ds? Number one, debt free. So I want to do a quick poll to check in to see where we are before we get into our recommendations. So this poll question is, I feel good about the way I manage my money. So the first option is absolutely yes, I'm feeling good. I have a plan for my money. I am on track. I'm budgeting. I'm saving. Option two, kind of, but I could do better. Or option three, not at all. I need a lot of help. So take a second and let me know where you are when you think about how you're managing your money. All right. Very good. So we have 29% of us that say, you know what, I am all over it. I got this. I'm doing good. I feel good about the way I'm managing my money. 43% of us say, yeah, kind of, but I could do better. And then 29% of us say that, not at all. I need a lot of help. And where you are is just fine. We're going to talk about how we can move you forward no matter where you're coming from, no matter where you're at. So when we talk about debt, here's some things for you to consider as you are developing your playbook. According to Experian, Americans are carrying an average of $90,000, over $90,000 of personal debt. In this current pandemic, COVID-19 crisis, our unemployment rate is in the double digits and our gross domestic product has been down 5% in Q1 and it's expected to be down. So we are definitely in a recession. Our personal incomes have decreased as well as our disposable personal income has decreased more than 4%. And for older millennials in 2018, those folks who are between the ages of 25 and 35, we're carrying about $42,000 in personal debt, most of which are credit cards. So even though I used to work for Wells Fargo and did a lot of financial education, I'm not going to dig in here and make recommendations and say whether or not credit cards are good or bad. But what I am saying is during a crisis, debt certainly doesn't help. And so creating opportunities for us to ensure that we have resources to survive challenging situations is really important. So here are 3 things that I recommend you consider for your post-pandemic playbook. Number 1, play the long game when it comes to your finances with a clear mission statement. And in each of these sections, I will give specific examples of things that I am doing, mostly to provide inspiration and to spark conversation. Second, be diligent about budgeting, savings, and investing. Over the course of your life, your finances will evolve and the demands on your income will change. And so money is not a set it and forget it situation. You have to actively engage and manage it and have goals for it. And last but not least, connect with a licensed professional and other like-minded people. As I grew in my career, I was fortunate enough when I worked for Anheuser-Busch, as part of my compensation, I received stock grants. And I didn't really know what to do with them, but luckily I had a friend who was a licensed financial advisor, and he helped me to not only invest and to keep the stock, but to really think differently about how I manage my resources. So now I'd like to share my own personal financial mission statement. When I was in my early 20s, I was at a church service and the pastor shared this verse and it really stuck with me. And it says, a good person leaves an inheritance for their children's children. And that's actually out of Proverbs 13:22. And I thought, wow, I'm supposed to be setting up and leave an inheritance for people I don't even know, people that don't even exist yet. So when you think, and that's why the first recommendation is think about the long game when it comes to your finances, legacy, and inheritance. I have to use my money differently, savings and investing, if I'm going to leave an inheritance for my grandchildren. So find whether it's a Bible verse or a quote. Dave Ramsey has really good resources to help with finances. So does Michelle Singletary. As you are studying and thinking about your finances, find that guiding principle for your playbook so that you can use it to help you make decisions. Another resource that I really am grateful for is your Social Security statement. Once a year, Social Security will send a statement to you. You can get them online and or via mail. I will put together a list of online resources if what I'm sharing you're not familiar with, that take you directly there where you can register. But each year, the Social Security Administration will track your earnings, and you will be able to see how your income ebbs and flows over time. So this report is a little older, but it shows my earnings from 1994 when my first job and I started working. And when I share particularly with young people in high school the importance of saving and investing early, compound interest is real and it's helpful. And I tell them, and I show them this paper, and I said, if I had even saved a small fraction of the money that I made when I was in high school and college, I'd be in a very different place financially, but I didn't realize it. Instead, I ate the money, I drove the money, I wore clothes, I clothed with the money, but I did not save and invest. And so the one good thing that I appreciate about learning and engaging in financial education, it's never too late to start. So these resources will help you to identify and get your plan. Other two resources I'd like to share that I personally am engaged in are giving circles. I served on the Women's Philanthropy Institute from the Lilly School of Philanthropy at Indiana University, their advisory board for several years, and they do a lot of research on women in giving, and they highly recommend giving circles. There's a great quote that says, when you want to go fast, actually an African proverb, when you want to go fast, go alone. When you want to go far, go together. So getting together with your sister friends and establishing giving circles not only helps your philanthropy go farther, but is a great way to spend time with like-minded women, making a difference in your community. As Ms. Mathis mentioned earlier, I actually serve as the chair of the board of the SIFMA Foundation for an Investor Education, and we are the producers of the stock market game. We've been around for 41 years teaching young people how to invest their money and learn that the stock market is not a big scary thing where they are not welcome, but quite the contrary. And so we have great volunteer opportunities with the stock market game. So I highly encourage you to connect with us and engage with young people and learning about the stock market. It's a great way to learn about investing for yourself. All right. The second D, disease free. All right, let's do a quick poll. When you think about the pandemic so far, when you think about your health, are you quarantined? So I kind of took a play on quarantine and said quarantine. I saw that on the news this morning and thought that was cute. So are you quarantined? Have you been exercising, eating well, feeling good? Or your health is pretty much the same, not changed much, not good, not bad, status quo, or I have completely fallen off the wagon. Some of my friends say they've got the Rona 15 or the Rona 20. So where are you when you think about your health during this pandemic? All right, excellent. Many of you are taking this time to get your body right, which is so important. Some of you are just holding on, just status quo, not better, not worse, but maintaining, not bad. And some of us have just fallen off the wagon, and that is okay. We're going to talk about a few things to help move us forward from where we are. For your consideration, while we are in the midst of this pandemic, that people of any age with underlying medical conditions are at increased risk for severe illness from COVID-19. I got this information from the CDC website this morning, and I intentionally highlighted obesity and type 2 diabetes. African American women over-index in several negative health outcomes, medical conditions, underlying conditions, comorbidities. So that's why it is that much more important that we take care of our bodies. We have to take care of our health. We have a lot to live for. And my recommendation for this play in your playbook, when you think about being disease-free, being healthy, keep it simple. My plays in this playbook are walk, water, rest. I try to move my body every day for at least 30 minutes a day, whether it's walking, jogging, riding my bike, playing basketball with my son. Exercise is important, and I try to keep it simple. I've gotten to a place now, I'm zoomed out on so many Zoom meetings for work. I will acknowledge on some of those meetings, I will go to the local park, the local track, and walk during the Zoom meeting. Put my video on, I'm listening, I'm paying attention, but we're spending a lot of time indoors, of course, to maintain our safety and our health, but we also need to exercise. There are great resources for online exercises. Many of you are quarantined, so keep up the good work. Water is so important. We have to stay hydrated. Not only is it important to drink water, but we want to eat foods that are made from water, plant-based foods. I'll talk a little bit more about that here in a sec. And then rest. Many of us are working longer hours because we're working from home. So it's easy to just get up and get online and start working because we don't have the commutes or other responsibilities. There's a lot going on. Many of us are working in organizations where there have been layoffs and furloughs, so there are fewer people, and that work doesn't go away, so it's coming to you. But it's so important that we rest our bodies. Getting proper amounts of sleep really supports our immune system. And so as you are thinking about your playbook, your post-pandemic playbook, how are you getting through this pandemic and thriving when we get through this? Make sure you have things that will help you be disease-free. I want to share my personal health mission statement. I'll talk about how I came up with this in the next slide. But it was very important to me to have a guiding principle for my body and how I treat it, very similar to the guiding principle that I have for my finances. I took the time to think about how I wanted to take care of my health. And this is my personal mission statement. I want to live a life that is free from addictions and idols so that the blood and the organs in my body work optimally. I really struggle with comparing myself to other people. I would see people who I defined as lean or fit and say, well, how do they get to eat that and look like that? And I don't. And comparison is the thief of joy. And what I have come to learn is that you can't look at people on the outside and know if they're healthy or not. It really is a matter of, are you taking care of the blood and the organs that are in your body? Because you only get one. And there are very specific things we can do to help our bodies and things that we can do through our lifestyle and diet choices, nutrition choices that can harm our bodies. So I really encourage you to think about what is the guiding principle for how you will take care of your body. Resources, examples of things that I use for myself to help keep my blood and organs working optimally. I grow my own food. I have 2 tower gardens. They're great technology. They are a home appliance. So I tell people, if you have a refrigerator, you can have a tower garden. It just happens to grow food, fresh fruits and vegetables. I grow a lot of leafy greens because I like salads, and I've transformed my taste to really focus on a nutrient, plant-rich diet. And in addition to being concerned about the food supply and shut down from COVID, having the ability to grow my own fruits and vegetables at my house has been really a blessing to my family and to my own personal health. I also invested in health coaching. I worked with a gentleman by the name of the Minister of Wellness. He is an international health coach and has been very instrumental in helping me think differently about food. And he actually recommended these two books that I have here, How Not to Die by Dr. Michael Greger and Eat to Live by Dr. Joel Furman. Really good books, because what I have learned, I'm 43 years old, I've had to re-educate myself about nutrition and food. What I learned in elementary school and the food pyramid doesn't work for me at 40 years old. So I highly encourage you, as you were thinking about this disease-free play in your playbook, basically taking care of your health, count one of your actions in as relearning about nutrition and food. All right, we're heading towards the end. Our third D for our post-pandemic playbook is drama-free. We don't need any drama, ladies. We do not need any drama. There's going to be drama, but we want to be as drama-free as possible. So let me do a quick check-in poll, a team check-in. When you think about your stress levels during the pandemic, are they lower now than they were, about the same, or higher? And this is, just in general, when you think about your life, personal, professional, where's your stress level? All right. Let's see. Okay, good. We've got some lowers. We've got some folks that are part of this team tonight who are experiencing a little lower stress levels, but a good majority of us are either at the same level and or higher. Again, that's natural considering the uncertainty in our communities and how we've responded to the coronavirus. Some communities are performing well in beating back the virus, others not so much. So in our workspaces, childcare, lots of opportunities to be stressed. And I'd like to share this information when we talk about stress and mental health. According to the CDC, Black women have a life expectancy that is 3 years shorter on average than white women. And some of the root causes may be related to stress. There's a really great survey that I'll share either in the chat or gonna post webinar that asks people how their jobs is your job easier or harder in this pandemic? And as you can see in the circle, a majority of people are saying that their jobs are harder or significantly or somewhat harder. And certainly our work environments are challenged and we are experiencing high levels of stress in the workplace. But for Black women in particular, it's the chronic stress that I am most concerned about, and why I felt drama-free was an important part of our post-pandemic playbook, limiting stress in our lives. And, when I got to a place where I needed to make a change and to pivot, one of the things that I asked myself is, what is it that I want? What makes me happy? I lived so many years doing what other people wanted me to do, doing what I thought was the right thing to do, but not really checking in with me, saying, what makes me happy? And that is so important. And oftentimes, before I got really clear about my values and my talents, I would say yes to things. People would invite me to be on a committee, serve on this board, go to this event, do this thing. And I would say yes when I really should have said no. But oftentimes we get in a place of overwhelm because we're overcommitted. And so really taking the time to think about what it is that you want, what makes you happy, and use that to guide your choices really limits. And that's not just professionally, that's also personally. I know I've been in my fair share of relationships, friendships, and otherwise, that I probably should not have been because I really wasn't clear about what it is that I wanted and what makes me happy. Another recommendation as you were thinking about your strategy plan and action for your playbook is invest in coaching, therapy, and continuing education. I believe very deeply, whether your company provides it as a benefit with continuing education, tuition reimbursements, through your employee assistance programs. If your company provides that as a benefit, take advantage of it. If it doesn't, garner your resources and invest the time and effort. It's okay to engage in therapy. I think we're getting a lot better as a community, and particularly Black women, talking about and talking with professionals about how we feel. But it's so important for our support, our education, and accountability to invest the time and resources in caring for ourselves. We absolutely have to prioritize self-care. And then last but not least, own your story. There's only one you, and you are here to do an amazing work. You are serving, you have aligned with NCNW as a way for you to serve in your community, and we need you. And so oftentimes we get messages that from people and narratives that want us to change. But as you grow and lead, it's really important to know who you are, what you bring to the table, and what's important to you. Couple of examples of things that I've done that have been really helpful in Know Thyself for me. Back in 2003 or 2004, I participated in some continuing education through Landmark Education, and they have a program called the Landmark Forum. And one of the activities we developed was an autobiography, and I actually have it here with me and I'll show it to you, but I literally went through each year of my life and found pictures and thought about who was in my life at the time, where did I live, and it's just been a joy. I mean, this book is 16 years old and I still look at it and it reminds me of, you know, who I am, where did I come from, what makes me unique and special. And particularly now that I have a young son, you know, at some point I'm going to pass away and I want him to know more about, you know, his mom and the legacy and the work that I did. I have another workshop that I do, particularly with college students, called Serve Your Way to Success, Achieving New Levels of Leadership Through Community Service and Civic Engagement. I presented this workshop at a recent St. Louis Business Journal Women's Conference, but I deeply believe that serving in the community is very important and helps us not only experience the life we want, but also helping others grows us as leaders. And then I've aligned with Jonathan Sprinkles, who is a national coach. He's a great colleague and friend, and he has a exercise that we'll do when we get to the Q&A part. This is just a check-in called the 7-circle method, where you draw a circle, you put a cross in between it, and you shade in the area. So when you think about your physical health, shade in those quadrants to signify where you are. You good, not so good, but coming up with unique ways or having tools in your toolbox to assess where you are and where you want to go is really important. Right. So that concludes my presentation for this part of our workshop together. I would love to entertain your questions, share a couple of additional exercises, and then at the end, we're going to do our virtual huddle.
Okay, your first question is, do you think investing in a financial coach is valuable, or reading books, or just reading books is good too?
Thank you for that question. I think for me, it's a both and. Having a financial advisor has been very helpful to me. I do not make any big decisions about my finances without calling Patrick. He's an amazing person and has been very helpful to me in keeping track of my personal and professional goals. So I do highly recommend aligning with the financial advisor. and or financial coach. My experiences with financial advisors, so that's my preference. But certainly reading books is very important. Magazines, articles, doing things like the stock market game and learning for yourself. So money is such a deep topic. It's very personal. To me, you can't learn too much.
You just showed a diagram of the seventh.
The
Can
seven
you,
circles.
yeah, can you discuss that for us?
Absolutely. So, like I said, you get a pen and paper. Hopefully you have been taking notes, but we're going to do the 7-circle method together. So what you do on your paper, you're going to draw a circle. I'm only going to do one so I can make it big enough for you to see. So get a piece of paper, draw a circle, and then you're going to draw a line from top to bottom to split the circle in half. And then you're going to draw another line from left to right. So now you've got 4 quadrants in your circle. My nails are a mess, but that's okay. So you've got 4 quadrants in your circle. So what we're going to do, since we started the workshop talking about being debt free, we're going to call this our financial check-in. So you name your circle at the top. So this one's our financial check-in, and you can have multiple circles, which I'll talk about the different categories for your circle. So now what I want you to do when you think about your financial situation, I want you to color in the quadrants, each quadrant that represents that you're good. So it's 25%, 50%, 75%, or 100%. And the reason why I really appreciate Jonathan, teaching me this tool is no thing is all bad. And sometimes it might be, but oftentimes taking a minute to think about where you are, you can fill in spaces and it gives you a quick visual of where you are in the moment and helps you develop a plan for where you want to go. So I work in higher ed and I really do enjoy it. It is a different financial model than the corporate world. So for me, I'm coloring in 3 of my quadrants. So financially, I'm about 75% where I want to be when I think about my finances. And so in this space, you can start to list out, well, what is it that would get me to 100% in that space? Fortunately, I don't have any consumer debt. All I have is a mortgage. We worked very diligently to pay off our credit cards, pay off our car notes, and all that good stuff. So for me, it's a matter right now of increasing my savings for my child's college education. I've not done a really good job at that. Got to do better. So I am writing down my goal. What would get me to 100% financially? Increase savings for Andrew's college. Before he was born, I said, oh, I'm going to be very diligent. I'm going to get this done. He's almost 9. There's still time, but 9 years of savings. So you can write what your goals are, what will help you to be full circle in a particular area. So I will show you another picture of the 7-circle method that Jonathan teaches us. So here are, and I'll read the different areas of your life that you can assess very quickly to determine where you are and start to develop plans. So there's physical. So when you think about your body and your health, confidence, what you believe about yourself, relationships, particularly those, your business and professional relationships, so you can say work life, romance, financial, clarity, which is, are you in touch with your purpose and you know the direction that you're going for your life? Spiritual, how engaged are you in a spiritual practice? And contribution, how are you giving back to your community? So these are actually 8 circles in the circle method to quickly assess where you are and where you can spend your time and energy in developing. Right.
Fantastic. The next question is, how did you build your playbook?
Oh my gosh, I've been working on my playbook for for a while. The concept of post-pandemic playbook actually came from a friend of mine, Lauren Milan. She is the CEO of Digital Undivided. I serve on that board, and we were talking about the importance of serving Black women entrepreneurs, and this was very early on. It's actually back in March. This won't last forever, but it is a very unique opportunity for us to think about things and pivot. And I am intentional about taking at least some time out once a week, once a month, sometimes once a day to think about my life and just write. I have tons of journals and notebooks and scratch paper. I believe in thinking and writing. And so I've developed my playbook over time, and it's really things and practices that I do on a regular basis that I put on paper. One of my really good friends said to me, "She who documents wins." And that's very true, you know, writing both in our professional lives and our personal lives, writing things down. Success leaves clues. So we want to make sure that we are documenting our plans, and we can go back and look and see our successes. I wanted to share real quick. This is the book. This is the book that I created through the Landmark Forum of my autobiography. And you can see this was a great exercise. It helped me. This is the first page. I have one page for every year of my life. This was actually the day I was born. And my birth certificate, me and my dad. And you can see that this circle represents the people in my circle, different pictures. The square is about where I lived and just other unique things about me, things that I liked. So, you know, every day is a different picture. I'll skip ahead. Let's see what this was. Me in 1990, high school. But going through this was a beautiful experience. Not only, you know, I got to share this experience with my mom and finding old pictures, but really being thoughtful about who I am. And now when I look at this, you know, there are days when I just am overwhelmed or down, and I'll flip through this book and say, oh yeah, I remember that, you know. So this is part of your playbook, really getting very thoughtful about who you are and what's important to you, and taking the time to do that. You're worth this, right? And certainly, you know, my son will see this when he turns 40 and have a good sense of who his mom is. So highly recommend.
Many people have asked, what is Jonathan's full name? How do they get the book? And how do they order the 7th Circle method?
Got it. Jonathan's full name is Jonathan Sprinkles. So let me connect, and I'm happy to, on my last slide, I have my contact information, because I know I shared a lot of tools and resources from Social Security to stock market games. So I will commit, if you email or text me, I'm happy to send you all of this information. But Jonathan Sprinkles, JONATHAN, last name is Sprinkles, SPRINKLES. And he is based out of Houston, national coach. He runs the Connection Lab, amazing leader and trainer. So I highly recommend connecting with Jonathan. I attended his conference in February of this year, and that's where I learned the 7 Circle method, along with a ton of other great relationship and connection resources. So I will be sure to share his information, his website. He's all over social media. So if you just type in Jonathan Sprinkles, you will find him. But really great, great leader, great guy.
What are the last 2 circles?
The last 2 circles of the 7 Circle method are spiritual and contribution.
Okay. Have you ever published any books?
Not yet. I am really thinking about that. I feel like there's a book in me that needs to come out. I have a lot of passion for college students and young adults. And so I believe very deeply in mentoring, sponsorship, sharing. I've learned a lot. I've had a ton of experiences that I do want to share. So to the person or persons that have asked that, thank you for that confirmation. I need to get busy on this book.
How would you recommend finding a good financial advisor?
I would recommend, certainly, I'm happy to share Patrick's information. Patrick uh, is a national advisor. He has clients all over the country. He's great. He's my advisor. But through recommendations, you have someone in your community, whether it's in your family, in your workplace, who you admire or look up to, or who you know is doing what they need to do. Ask them. You know, like I said, success leaves clues. And oftentimes people who are doing well with their money have help. And so personal advisors financial advisors are also a personal decision. So it's important that you interview and do your research, make sure that they are licensed and under regulatory governance. So like I said, I've been working with Patrick for years. Happy to share his information, Patrick Reed at Wells Fargo Advisors, but certainly recommend that you connect with others who are doing well financially and ask them who they work with.
Okay. A friend has tried to invest in Prime America. What are your thoughts with that company?
I'm not really familiar, I'll be honest. Even though I did work for Wells Fargo for almost 6 years, most of my experience was in the philanthropic space. Usually, if I have a question about anything financial related, I will call Patrick first and ask him, have you heard of this? Do you understand this? Is this a good thing for me? As a working mother, as an executive, I have learned the value of delegation. My mind can only hold so many things. And so actually when I worked at Wells Fargo, our CEO, our former CEO, Danny Ludeman said, you need 3 advisors in your life. You need a spiritual advisor. So he definitely believed in aligning with the spiritual community. For me, that's the church. He said you need a medical advisor, also known as a doctor, and you need a financial advisor. So oftentimes with people who need a license to do their work, that includes therapists, they're expert in what they study. So I highly recommend the financial advisor. And when you have questions about what to invest in, whether it's a franchise for a business, or starting a side hustle, aligning with someone who studies that and is expert in it because they're knowledgeable about the content in today's environment. And so definitely align with an advisor and ask those questions. But I'm not familiar enough with Primerica to give a good answer.
Can you give me any advice on how to chip away at my debt?
Oh my gosh. Well, I shouldn't say I because I'm married. We, and I really did. My finances got way better when I got married. I'm the kind of person that needs that level of accountability. So we studied the Dave Ramsey Financial Peace University. We went to a local church that was offering that curriculum. I believe very deeply in small group learning. Small groups of church, whether it's giving circles, just doing things in community helps. And so we chose to do the financial peace curriculum in the small group. And it starts with the snowball, the debt snowball. Start with your smallest debt, get that paid off. If you got to get a side hustle to earn some extra money, drive Uber, sell some stuff, pay off that first debt, take the payment that you were making on the first debt, roll it into the next one. And the most important thing when it comes to debt, well, actually, there are 2 things. One is it takes time and diligence. And the quote that I really enjoy, money and health are very similar. And it says, if you are consistent, you will get it. If you are persistent, you will keep it. And so when you start really committing to financial health and getting debt free, you got to be persistent, but you also have to be consistent, and you will achieve your goals. Start small, be consistent, and you'll look up. And just like we looked up, we made some sacrifices. There were years when we said, okay, we're not going to go on this vacation. We're going to focus on paying off our debt. There's no win without sacrifice. But it's totally worth it, because we would be in a very different situation. My husband was laid off from U.S. Steel before the pandemic. We would be in a different situation if we had a lot of debt. So for those of you that want to pay your debt off, congratulations for knowing that that's important, and just stay with it. Get a plan, get some help, and get after it. Google. And also Google.
What is the Giving Circle?
A giving circle, according to the Women's Philanthropy Institute, they do a lot of research. So a giving circle can be a formal gathering of women who work with a local community foundation to set up a 501c3 or a place to hold dollars, or a informal group of women, men. I tend to like women giving circles who pool their resources. I'm actually part of a giving circle here called Black Funders STL, and it's actually a co-ed group of men and women, and we all commit $500 a year. We pool our resources, and we make donations to Black-led nonprofits in St. Louis, because sometimes we have to support our own and ourselves. And so you can start with a group of friends, and it just helps your dollars and resources go farther when you do things together. So $500 can turn into $5,000 or however much when you pool your resources. And certainly you want to make sure you have things documented. How will you decide who you want to give the money to, what organizations, how often would you want to make donations to different organizations? So take the time to set up the criteria and the guidelines for your giving circle, but they are really great ways to come together and do strategic philanthropy and be very thoughtful, and oftentimes support organizations that are missed by traditional philanthropy. And I will be sure to send the Women's Philanthropy Institute information as well.
Love your Tower Garden. Any suggestions on where to get one?
Yes, I have a website for Tower Gardens. They are an amazing technology. My really good friend Karen Drake told me about Tower Gardens 4 years ago, because I've committed to eating healthy when my father passed away. And when I joined, connected with Nathaniel Jordan and did nutrition coaching with him, I really increased my nutrition knowledge, and was just eating lots and lots of plants and started feeling good. And I called Karen when she first told me about the Tower Gardens. I thought they were too good to be true. I said, this thing can't work, because I have killed a bamboo plant before. So I don't have a green thumb. I don't care to be outside. I don't care to garden. That's not my ministry. But I really wanted a better way, a more efficient way to get fruits and vegetables, because I was going to a variety of grocery stores. I go to this store for that. I go to Costco for this, and it was just not a good use of time, energy, or money. So 3 years later, I called Karen. I said, hey, do you still have those Tower Gardens? And she said, yeah, I do. And I said, I need one today. And I ordered it, and it has been a blessing. My child loves the Tower Gardens. Kids really love Tower Gardens. And what we have found is that kids that grow their own food will eat it. My son will go over and get some greens off the Tower Garden and just put them in his mouth. And, that warms my heart that he is 9 years old and committed to eating healthy, because he understands it. So please reach out to me. I'll share my contact information. Happy to connect you with the Tower Garden. They're affordable, and they're really simple and fun.
You should put up your information now, because everybody's asking for it.
Okay, let me do that. I don't want to miss our huddle. Let me get to getting. So we are going to do our virtual huddles, ladies. We absolutely have to do our virtual huddle. So here is my information. My email address is there. My personal email address is the number 1, V as in victory, L as in laugh, A as in apple, F as in Frank, C as in Charlie. 1 VLAFC @gmail.com. You can feel free to text. I actually am better at text than calls. So feel free to text me. My phone number is 314-202-4055. If you call and I don't answer, just leave me a message. Happy to call you back. And my preferred social media is LinkedIn. So you're welcome to find me on LinkedIn under Vanessa Foster Cooksey or Vanessa Cooksey. Connect with me there, send me a message through LinkedIn. Happy to, connect you with others, resources that I have, and supports for you.
Now back to the virtual huddle.
Yes. Okay, here we go. Uh-oh, wait a minute. Got to go to the virtual huddle. All right, let me just double check. Okay, now let me see. Before we do the virtual huddle, are there any other questions? Because that was just my last thing is the virtual huddle. So
all the questions are done.
Excellent. All right, ladies. So I know I can't see you and you can't see me, but we have spent the last hour together and I have enjoyed presenting. I hope that something I've said has inspired you to sit down and work on your post-pandemic playbook, because we will get on the other side of this COVID-19. And whatever the next challenge is, we will definitely be more prepared, more confident, and have more support for the challenges that ultimately we will face. And we will win, ladies, because truth be told, we deserve to win. We can win. We can win with ourselves, which is the most important when you feel good about you. We can win with our families, we can win in our careers, and we can win in our communities. So indulge me and reach your hand out towards the screen. This is our special team for this time that we have come together. There are 36 of us. Reach your hands toward the screen. We're going to do like any basketball, football, or soccer team. Put our hands together, and on 3, we are going to say, we will win. Ready? 1, 2, 3. We will win.
We will win.
Hey, thank you all so much for joining us this evening.
We want to thank Ms. Foster Cooksey. Oh, there we go. Ms. Mathis is right on top. Mute button.
You may certainly go ahead, but I have enjoyed it and I took notes. And whether you're hearing this information for the first time or it was a refresher course, the way it was packaged so beautifully made it so compelling and memorable. I'm going to always remember comparison is the enemy of joy. Simple but true. She who documents wins. It was just a delightful session. Sometimes I kind of zone off or I work on my email while these are going on. But tonight I was taking notes. Here's my beginning of my playbook. And so I want to thank you, Ms. Cooksey. And I want to remind all of you, in about a week, you'll be able to go to www.ncnw.org and you can watch a replay. You can share it with your family and friends. We invite you to do that. There's no charge for doing it. But we do ask you to consider, if you enjoyed tonight, if you learned something that was useful for your life, think about joining the National Council of Negro Women. Nothing gets to be 85 years old because it's useless. We're here for a reason, because we believe in Black women and their communities and families, and we know you do too. Thank you all, and good night.
Thank you. It's been an honor.
Pleasure's all ours. You'll get invited back too.
Oh, thank you. I'm happy to come back. I love NCNW. Proud Life member. Happy to do it.
Absolutely.